It's time for week 2. The Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Las Vegas Raiders. There's some key matchups that we got to focus on, namely with Darren Waller. But the Steelers have plenty of matchup problems to cause the Raiders themselves, especially on defense. We're going to talk about that in the first segment, give you all of our week 1 picks in the second segment. Then, of course, our final predictions for Steelers versus Raiders. And, of course, when I say we, I'm talking about Jenna Harner from Channel 11 WPXI here on a Friday episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always on Fridays, we are joined by the one and only Jenna Harner of Channel 11 WPXI. Jenna, how you doing this Friday?
Happy Friday. We made it through another week, but it's another weekend of football. So, hey, can it really be that bad?
It can't be that bad. It can't be at all. Now, I will say, there's a lot of interesting conversations happening out there with the Steelers. Now, I want to remind people, if you haven't seen this on our Facebook page or on my Twitter page, the picks that Jenna and I always do from now on, we are doing this through one of our sponsors, Run Your Pool. And Run Your Pool is a place where you can do pick'em leagues. It organizes them for you, and then you can have all the standings. It's a great service. We are doing our own Run Your Pool for our pick'em league, where you can join Jen and I every week and make your picks. Head to the Locked On Steelers Facebook page or check my Twitter page at Carter Critiques to find the invite link. We can take any people available. Also, whoever wins the pick'em league will receive a Steelers jersey of their choice from Run Your Pool. So there are some stakes on the line, and you want to get in this week because we are starting in week 2, so you don't want to fall behind in the picks that you make throughout the year. So Steelers fans, get in on it. See if you can beat Jenna and I every week. It's going to be a fun time. But Jenna, before we get into the picks, we got to talk about the matchups the Steelers are going to be looking at here. And offensively for the Raiders, there's one guy in particular that everyone's talking about. That's Darren Waller. He had 19 targets from Derek Carr on Monday Night Football. That's an obscene amount. The Steelers have noted it. We talked to Joe Hayden on Thursday, and we talked to a lot of guys. It seems like all week they're like, yep, I'm ready to do. We're following that guy wherever he goes.
Yeah, we heard that starting from Mike Tomlin on Tuesday when his normal Tuesday press conference, just saying that they're treating him almost as a wide receiver and not a tight end. And we heard from Keith Butler on Thursday where he was asked about his blocking ability. And he's like, yeah, if you had him on your team, would you ask him to block as much? They know the weapon that Darren Waller is. They just know he's such a big bodied. He's that receiving tight end, whereas you're not really going to see him block as much as you're going to see him make plays. Again, 19 targets. That's just insane. But we know that the Steelers are just scheming for him. Basically, we heard, again, everyone we've talked to this week up to this point is, yeah, we have our eyes locked on this guy. We are not going to let him make plays because he is that big playmaker that can really propel the Raiders and really give them a really big shot to stay in this game. And if you see them limit him like they limited Stephon Diggs week 1 against the Bills, that could bode really well for the Steelers.
It really could. And it's taking away quarterback's top options. Yep. And that's something that you do when you make a guy go to the players he's less comfortable with. You have more of a chance that, hey, he might throw a more errant pass. There might not be as much of a smooth connection there. And again, the Steelers pass rush is going to be getting after Derek Carr. I almost called it David Carr, his brother. Yeah. Although David Carr is an irrational Derek Carr supporter as he is of his brother. If you ever listen to him, he's like, yeah, Derek Carr, top 5 quarterback. And I'm like, damn, like, we get it. You're literally brothers.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, Jenna, another thing that's been talked about all this week is all the different alignments the Steelers showed as a defensive front. You had Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, and Melvin Ingram all lining up in different spots all around the line. Cam Hayward talked about that Thursday morning before practice and kind of was just like, we're just scratching the surface here of what we can do. And for a Raiders offense that's got a new center, their right guards, out with injury, their left guard, Richard Incognito, still going to be hurt. There's a lot of questions as far as what they'll be able to handle. And this could turn into a major advantage for the Steelers that may prevent the Raiders from throwing to Darren Waller.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really interesting getting some insight from Keith Butler, just because I always love really hearing when coaches kind of break things down for us, especially me as someone who didn't grow up playing football, obviously. But he basically explained how with that rotation, correct me if I'm wrong, but with having TJ Watt, with having Ingram, and then having them kind of be in motion a little bit, the offensive line, the opposing offensive line always looks to kind of see, okay, which guy is going to be the money guy to keep our eyes on, the one that's going to be the communicator in that sense. And he said the Bills were confused by it. That's what they were trying to do, give the Bills those looks where it was, okay, is TJ Watt going to be the guy? Is Melvin Ingram going to be the guy? Who's going to be that guy? And then the rotation, adding Highsmith in there, obviously just having those three guys, I think that's going to be so beneficial. And it was just really interesting to kind of get that insight from Butler, where basically he was saying, we want to keep them on their toes as much as they're trying to keep us on our toes with what offensive play they're going to be running. And that's really, when you have that trio of linebackers getting after the quarterbacks the way that all three of them can, in just that explosive way, that dynamic way we see from all three of them. We saw it again week 1, but that's seemingly really, really, really going to give defenses fits moving down the schedule here.
Certainly. And another thing about this is when you think of edge rushers, typically you think of them as edge rushers. Hey, they're just going to line up on outside. They're going to beat you around the corner and try to get to the quarterback. But these guys have all learned, even Alex Highsmith in his second year in the league, they've learned how to win to the inside shoulder. They've learned how to get up the middle, win and beat gap, and create pressure up the middle instead of just being around the edge. So now as a tackler, as a guard, whoever's facing these guys, they have to be aware that this guy could slip inside of me and get a faster path to the quarterback if I'm not careful. And that puts you on edge, and it means you can't sell out on the outside. So now if you do want to go on the outside, it might give you an advantage there. So that versatility, not just to line up wherever, but to win in different gaps, that's going to be huge in this game. And Darren Waller absolutely a factor in this game. And the Steelers are going to, they're going to be rotating Minkah around. They're going to be rotating Cam Sutton around. They're going to be rotating Arthur Mollett and Trey Norwood and all these other guys to give them different looks. And also, I would fully expect Devin Bush and Joe Schobert to be in the mix of helping to take Darren Waller out of the picture. But what ultimately can get it done before the pass even gets to the air is that defensive front getting after it. Cam Hayward, and always his confident but humble self. We talked to him, and he's like, he feels like we're good. He said he feels like he's the best defensive lineman in football. Now, granted, everyone's looking around like Aaron Donald's literally on the pit door right over there, and he kind of is the best.
It's right behind you. Okay,
but at the same time, that's how you're supposed to talk. And I think that's how it's a good embodiment or a good representation of how the Steelers see themselves, is like, hey, we see ourselves as the best out here, even when you might not necessarily be, and they're working to be that guy without the overconfidence of, we don't need to focus on this because we are the best.
No, exactly. And you're just seeing that from this defense. Like, this is going to be, we talked about this coming into the season, but the defense is going to be a very strong part of this team. It's going to be the biggest strength, if not, or one of the biggest, if not the biggest strengths of this team this season. Again, you saw that in week 1 with how they were able to neutralize Josh Allen, compared to now coming in against a quarterback like Derek Carr, who isn't entirely what Josh Allen is. Not saying that he isn't a great quarterback in the NFL, but the fact that they are two seemingly different type quarterbacks, this is going to be a strength of this team, especially, again, that defensive front. They just have so many explosive playmakers kind of throughout. And going back to what we were saying about just all the looks, that, again, is going to give opposing offenses just nightmares because of the fact that you're rotating guys in and out. You might not know exactly what you're getting. You might not know personnel-wise how guys are matching up. And all of a sudden you see Minkah explode through the line like we saw him get in that late or the early fourth quarter there to kind of really generate a lot of the plays that came, the 4th and 1 and everything that kind of followed suit there. But opposing offenses are going to have nightmares of this team. And part of that is because, like you were saying with Cam, the confidence that they have in themselves to say, hey, we are the best. We believe in ourselves. We know what we can do. We know what we bring week in, week out, and how we can limit offenses as much as possible.
Absolutely. And talking about Minkah, before we go to break, I do want to bring this up. That play you're talking about on that third down where, the Bills got it to their back and he's headed to the sideline and he looks like he's going to have it. Minkah flies up, makes a huge tackle in space to force the 4th and short that the Steelers eventually get the stop on. TJ Watt admitted after the game that I blew that play. Like, I made a mistake and Minkah came to save me. And then Keith Butler admitted as well on Thursday before practice. He was like, that was his call. We didn't tell him to do that. Minkah read that, saw that, and that happened. So, of course, now all the Troy Polamalu type of questions start getting asked, and everyone's like, whoa, we're not trying to put that on Minkah. But the legitimate thing is, that's a legendary safety that you're talking about, and he often made those types of plays where it would just be his call. He'd go and make the stop, and then the Steelers would have an amazing play. If Minkah can get, and he's only 23 years old, 24 years old. If he's learning how to do that at such a young age, that's going to be a major asset for this team moving forward. We'll see how he takes on this Raiders team, and we'll get to that Raiders prediction in just a bit. But first, I got to tell you guys about Built Bar, one of our great sponsors. If you want a healthy treat that tastes like a candy bar, Built Bar is the protein bar for you. It's the official protein bar for the U.S. track and field team, and it comes in so many different flavors. Whether you want a fruity snack like raspberry, strawberry, or orange, or something different like salted caramel, cookies and cream, Rocky Road, and my personal favorite, double chocolate, Built Bar has so many flavors to enjoy. And the best part, they're healthy. They range from 130 to 180 calories, 17 to 18 grams of protein, but only 4 to 5 grams of sugar and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. That's a tasty and healthy snack that saves you from eating the snack that you'll regret later and helps anyone stay on task with a diet. Order today and get your favorite flavor delivered right to your door by going to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED 15, LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED 15, all capital letters, no spaces, for 15% off at built.com. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm Chris Carter here with Jenna Harner, wrapping things up on a Friday. Jenna, this means we get to do picks. Now, I have to admit, I didn't have time to go tally how we did last week because I've been a little preoccupied. We've had a lot to get done this week, but we won't have to do that anymore because we are doing our picks through runyourpool.com, which is one of our great sponsors. If you want to join this pool, again, check the Locked On Steelers Facebook group or check my Twitter page for the invite link to the league. You want to get in soon. Steelers fans, if you're playing this, if you win, we're going to pick all the games for the rest of the season. All the games for the rest of the season we will pick, and then whoever has the most wins or whoever has the best winning percentage going into that or going at the end of the season, you will win a Steelers jersey that will be sent to you from runyourpool.com. So check that out. You want to get in on the contest and join in on the fun. Join us there. Also, we will give shout outs to people who win the week to week as we head throughout. But Jenna, let's get to these picks here now. This is, of course, everyone's listening to this or watching this on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or Google Podcasts or Odyssey after the Thursday Night Football game. But just for a glimpse, I have Washington winning that game. Do you have Washington winning that game?
Absolutely. And this is coming from a born and raised New York Giants fan. If the Washington football team doesn't come away with this game, there will be serious problems.
There will be serious problems, but it's so basically right now you get to see, are we idiots? Because you can now see, because you've seen the Thursday Night Football game by this time. But let's get into the Sunday games. First game, AFC North versus NFC North. Bengals are 1-0 at 0-1 Bears. I think the Bears get right this week. This is the Andy Dalton revenge game. He wants revenge upon the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he gets it this week against them, though I do think the Bengals and Joe Burrow do give them a hard time.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we saw lots of great things from Joe Burrow and his offense, especially his young receivers. I know everyone with the whole Jamar Chase, is he going to be able to catch the football? He said a couple
last week.
I was going to say, I think he caught it just fine. So I think this was one of the games that is super, super, super close. At least the line was the last time that I looked. But I just think, especially after what the Bears defense didn't do against the Rams, I think they're going to come out super angry, super hungry. Khalil Mack is going to do all he can to get to Joe Burrow. Yeah. So I think that this is going to be a close one, but I think that the Bears come away with a win here.
Another AFC North matchup here. The Browns are hosting the Texans, and if you had asked a lot of people, they would not have pegged the Texans to be 1-0, but they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Cleveland's coming off a tough. They choked away a potential win in Kansas City. They need this win to kind of save themselves from being 0-2. I don't think that they blow this one. They're at home. Texans had a great week 1. I'm sure Tyrod Taylor is very excited what he did there, but I think the Browns kind of handled this game running away.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a high-scoring game for the Browns. And I think also the Browns are very, 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 very frustrated. The fact that they were up as much as they were on the road against the defending AFC champs speaks a lot about where the Browns are as a team at this point. But then again, you look at the second half, and that also speaks a lot about where the Browns are at the team. There it is.
And with the Reggie Miller.
Obviously that loss is still very fresh in their mouths, knowing that they did go, toe to toe, or the taste of the loss is fresh in there. There's a taste that's not good to Cleveland. It's Cleveland. Nothing really tastes good over there. Yeah, that's true. That is true. So I think the Browns win this game. I just think they're the better team in this matchup.
Absolutely. Now, here's two teams with new quarterbacks. Matt Stafford got the win with the Rams. They're 1-0. Carson Wentz didn't get the win with the Colts, but they're hosting the Rams at 0-1. I still say the Rams. I like their defense way too much in this matchup.
Yeah, I think that you just have to look at the defensive side of the ball in this one. And obviously we know Aaron Donald, as we spoke about before, we know what he's capable of. I just think that we saw some really good things from the Rams on Sunday Night Football. Of course, every team will say it's week 1, that they have a lot to clean up, but I just think the Colts are still too big of a question mark for me at this point in the season. And the Rams are seemingly the more sure bet here.
Now, an AFC East showdown. The Bills coming off of that tough loss to the Steelers, 0-1 on the road at Miami, who were able to beat the Patriots last week. I'm going with the Bills because they need to rebound. But do you see to me, this would be an upset if the Dolphins pulled it off. But do you think there's a real chance that they could actually do it this week?
No, I don't think so. I think, just look at the last game that these two teams played. It was the end of last year. I think the Bills put up, I want to say it was somewhere in the 40s. It felt like it was an outrageous amount of points. They absolutely murdered the Dolphins last year. And the Bills, again, from reading everything that all of my former Buffalo colleagues were saying, have been reporting about the Bills this week, they are very upset about the performance they had against the Steelers. They know that they're capable of so much more. We know that Josh Allen and company are capable of so much more. I think that the Bills offense is just going to go off against the Dolphins defense here. And I think you're going to see a bounce back game for Buffalo. No problem.
Back-to-back AFC East games. It's the Patriots at the Jets. Rookie quarterback face-off. Mac Jones versus Zach Wilson. This is going to be interesting, but I'm going with Mac Jones, not just because of Mac Jones, but because the Patriots, they just have a better roster all around.
Yeah, I think so. And just even if you look at coaching, I mean, I really like what Saleh is doing with the Jets and the way he's kind of approached this season. But I think just with Belichick, you know what you're going to get out of the Patriots consistently. And especially, again, you look at the Patriots-Jets matchup. When was the last time the Jets beat the Patriots in a meaningful game that there wasn't starters being rested? Because I really don't know if I can tell you that answer. I do not believe it was crazily recent at all. And I just think, again, what were you saying?
I think it was 2010 when Anthony Mahomes was a Jet. I think that was the last time.
That seems about right. So just to put that into perspective, we are in the year 2021. So I think just Mac Jones has a lot to build on from what he was able to do. That's a really good, yes, he lost, but it came down to the wire against the Dolphins. I think he has a lot to build on. I think we still need to see more questions answered from Zach Wilson. Again, they're both rookie quarterbacks, but I just think New England feels like the safer decision here. But hey, you never know. Zach Wilson could go off and all of a sudden we're like, wait, did the Jets beat the Patriots? But for what it's worth, I'm going with the Pats.
All right, we're being boring here. We're 6 picks in. We picked everything the exact same way.
All right, know.
Let's see if it changes. 49ers 1-0 at the Eagles, also 1-0. The Niners defense was supposed to be vaunted this year, but gave up 33 points to the Lions. They're going up against Jalen Hurts and an offense that lit up the Falcons. I'm going with the home team. Philadelphia is going to go 2-0 in this matchup. Is this where we disagree, Jenna?
This is where we disagree because this was the hardest game for me to pick. I think the line on this one was like 1.5 Philly. So this was clearly, Vegas has it being a very close matchup. I'm going with the Niners only because, again, I feel like this is one of those games where they will bounce back and they will respond really well. I think Jalen Hurts has been at least played well. We saw him have a solid preseason, and then obviously he had a good week one. He was, finding his targets, finding his guys, but I don't know. That's just my gut told me in this one. That's really all I went with because I flipped back and forth. I was like, do I go Philly just because of what their offense has been able to put together? And then San Fran's defense didn't do great against the Lions of all teams, but I feel like I just have to go 49ers here. So that's where that's our first different pick of the week.
That is our first different pick of the week. Let's see if that sticks with it here. Saints at Panthers, both 1-0. I'm going with the Saints. Their defense was too good for Green Bay last week. Sam Darnold, you had your revenge game over the Jets, but that's about all you're going to get this year.
Yeah, I'm going with the Saints too. And also shouts to Jameis Winston for a 5-touchdown performance against the Packers defense. My goodness. So I think this is going to be another one where we see New Orleans do a lot more. And then we're asking, who is this Saints team? And did a lot of people expect it? Especially, obviously, you lose Drew Brees and you're not without Michael Thomas. But yeah, I think that the Saints win this one.
Broncos at Jaguars. Broncos had a dominant showing against the Giants. Jaguars looked even worse than we expected with Urban Meyer. I'm going with the Broncos, even though they're on the road. I'm sorry, that defense is too good, and I think Trevor Lawrence is in for a rough fight.
Yeah, good luck, Trevor Lawrence. Make sure you have the ice ready just because of what Denver's defense did to limit the Giants in week one. And granted, it was the Giants, but also, okay, it's the Jaguars. It's, there's all these, rumors surrounding, is Urban going to leave for USC, yada, yada, yada. And it's week two. It's week 2 of the season. So yeah, I just don't see things going well for Jacksonville, especially against that really solid Broncos defense they got going there.
This is another game that I feel fairly confident picking. The Vikings, after losing to the Bengals, are on the road to play the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, who dismantled the Titans last week. I see Kyler Murray having an even better week than Joe Burrow did last week, and the Cardinals handling business at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Cardinals are a much better team than the Bengals, just strictly with what they have and with how many seasoned vets they have compared to what the Bengals have. I don't see this one being close at all. I see Kyler Murray going off. I see D-Hop having himself a day. This is going to be, if you have any of these guys in fantasy, this is a really good matchup for you.
Yeah, we know because Jenna picked those guys in our fantasy Insider show. Jen and I head on Channel 11 with our Fantasy Football Insider with our picks on FanDuel, and I believe you picked both. I think you picked Kyler Murray and D-Hop, or you picked the combo. I know you picked.
Yeah, nope, I have both of them. And then I have D-Hop on another fantasy roster. So we just we got it covered in this week's matchup here.
Indeed. All right, now this is my survivor pick of the week. This is why I'm banking that this is definitely going to happen. Buccaneers 1-0 hosting the 0-1 Falcons after that just dismal performance against the Eagles. There's no way I see the Falcons walking into Tampa Bay and doing anything significant.
No, not at all. Especially the way that Tampa came off of that Thursday night game. Also, they're having more rest coming into this game. The way that they performed, what we saw from Tom Brady, what we saw from Gronk, what we saw from all of those playmakers that the Bucs have, and from that, I mean, the Bucs defense, I look at that more of Dak Prescott having a really fantastic game comparing to the Bucs defense being solid. But again, you're going from a shootout back and forth, super high emotional game to start the season to, okay, now you're playing the Falcons. Coming off that loss against Philly, I don't see the Falcons really even being in this one. Hey, maybe I'm going to be wrong. I just don't see that being the case here. And I think Tampa's offense has themselves a day.
I agree. Now, this is an interesting matchup for me. The Cowboys, after that tough loss to Tampa Bay, they're 0-1. They're going to the 1-0 Chargers, who beat Washington last week. I'm picking the Cowboys. I liked the way that they played. I like the way Dak played. I think that against the Chargers defense, they'll have even more success. And I know that Dallas's defense isn't the best, but I do think that they cause enough problems for Justin Herbert for Dak to be the better quarterback on the day.
Yeah, I think this one comes down to the quarterback matchup for me. And there were so many questions coming into the season. What was Dak going to look like? How is he going to play? How is he going to come back from that injury? And my goodness, that Thursday night game was just incredible. What a performance from him. Like, what a big way for him to get back into the season and not, because sometimes you can see quarterbacks, ease their way into it and be unsure a little bit. Obviously, the quarterback mentality, we don't see a ton of that in terms of, quarterbacks being scared or anything along those lines. That isn't the case at all. But I think there is a little bit of like, okay, this is my first game back. How am I going to react to taking a big hit? And Dak basically went out there and had just a phenomenal performance against a really solid, the defending Super Bowl champion defense of all defenses. So I think this one to me seems like it's just going to bode really well in Dak's favor, and we're going to see a lot of good things from him.
Absolutely. Now, this is an interesting matchup. AFC South versus NFC West. The Titans looked really bad in week 1. They're 0-1, and they're going on the road to face the Seattle Seahawks at home. I've got the Seahawks simply because I thought the Titans would be better than that in week 1. And until I see things change, I'm going to bank on Russell Wilson being able to handle business in front of the 12s.
Yeah, that's my exact reasoning. I think we're really on the same page here, but I just think the Titans kind of just, I don't want to say disappointed in their first game, but I think they disappointed. And you look at Seattle, obviously being in front of their home fans, that 12 man is such a huge factor in that stadium. I think, again, until the Titans, we see more things from Ryan Tannehill, until Derrick Henry has himself a day, has some explosive runs. I just got to go Seahawks in this one with Russell. You know what he can do. Again, when they let Russ cook, you see what he does in the kitchen.
Indeed. Sunday Night Football, a matchup that's become classic. Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, Chiefs at Ravens. The Ravens still have not taken out the Chiefs in the last few years that these two played, but I don't think that it changes either. The Ravens are still dealing with injuries. They just lost another backup cornerback. His name slips my mind right now, but they're just dealing with way too many injuries. The Chiefs coming off of a win where they kind of got to say, okay, we can't let that happen again. And now they get to face another opponent they need to beat. I think they do that with Patrick Mahomes doing what he needs to do. And this is not going to go well for the Ravens, who will fall to 0-2. Do you see it the same way, Jenna?
Yeah, I don't see the Ravens winning this game. Just coming off of that Monday night game, again, you're coming off of a short week. It was an emotional loss. Obviously, the overtime playing into that a little bit. You saw a little bit of their really solid playmakers get a little exposed in the backfield in terms of their secondary too, against, again, the Raiders team that's solid, but I don't think a lot of people at the start of the season would have said that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens the way that they beat the Ravens on Monday night. So I see Kansas City having no problems here. And I think just the way that they won against the Browns is such a recipe for success, because it's okay. It was week 1. Here was where we faltered, but we were able to get back on our feet. We gave ourselves confidence. We stayed in the game. We made the plays. We came back against a very solid team. And I think that kind of just follows where I think the fact too, just the quarterback matchup, Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, is going to be great to watch. But I think this is Mahomes' game, no doubt.
Right here with you. Now, here's a game where both teams are 0-1, Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers struggled mightily against the Saints. I don't think he does again. I think there's still rust that he has to knock off or whatever it is, but there's no way they lose to the Lions. The Lions did give the Niners a fight last week. I'm sorry, Lions fans. This just ain't going to be the week that you catch Green Bay sleeping, because they know if they cannot afford to fall to 0-2 and have their NFC playoff hopes, being put at risk that early in the season. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they figure it out this week.
Yeah, I think absolutely. There's just so many storylines coming into the season about the Packers that, as much as they probably say it wasn't a distraction, I'm sure it played a big factor. And I think nobody expected them to do what they did against the Saints last week. But also, you look, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's the reigning MVP. He was just fantastic in the way that, he was last season. I think he gets back to that level. Again, it's the Lions defense. I don't think that it's going to be a really, I think it'll be back and forth. I think it will be a little bit more high scoring than people think. I think the Lions will be in the game for longer than people expect, but this is just one, this is a Green Bay win. It should be. If not, there's going to be a ton of questions there.
Absolutely. And we will get to the Steelers-Raiders pick right after this break. But first, I got to tell you guys about BetOnline. It's that time of the year again, and all eyes have now turned to football as teams are back on the gridiron, starting up the football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all your pro and college football action this season. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including the $500,000 NFL Mega Contest and the $200,000 NFL Survivor Contest, open right now at BetOnline. Head to the website or use your device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. And be sure to take advantage of all the different promos they have available. You can check in, see what promos are available week to week, and maybe even some will give you a refund on your wager up to $25. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, from football, basketball to boxing, right down to horse racing. Don't wait to take advantage of all the great offers available for the 2021 season at betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. Wrapping things up here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm Chris Carter here with Jenna Harner on a Jenna Harner Friday here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Remember, you can download this on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, or YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to help us out. Now, Jenna, Steelers, Raiders, before we give our final prediction, give me the turning point, the key matchup, the one thing you think controls this game the most that's going to lead into your prediction.
I honestly think it's going to be Ben Roethlisberger's play. How does he come out in the first half? How does this offense come out and play and make plays in the first half? Because do they carry things over from the second half of what they did against the Bills? Do they have those momentum building plays where, okay, maybe they're getting into the red zone and settling for a field goal like we saw in the early going of the second half against the Bills? But I think they need consistency in that aspect in order to really gain confidence for themselves. Because again, games are all about momentum, and we saw how it happened where the defense got the stop on 4th and 1. The Steelers offense marched down the field, scored a touchdown, and then special teams blocked that punt. So I think you kind of just see how it all worked in motion, and that starts with Ben Roethlisberger and the offense. Can he come out? Will he fire the ball? Will Najee Harris get going? It's going to all come down to Ben, I think, in the first half. And if the Steelers can build a first half lead, then they're not even going to have to worry about that catch-up game like they did in Buffalo, and they really can kind of control the tempo and play the game that they want to play. And I think that would bode really well for the defense too. Again, it all kind of carries over.
It certainly can. My key factor is the defense shutting it down on Derek Carr. I know Darren Waller's in the picture as well, but like we said earlier, if they get after Derek Carr, I don't think he's a guy who performs well under pressure. And I'm not talking about pressure like TV and crowd. I'm talking about pressure like Cam Hayward being in your face. And I think that that's going to be a problem for this team. They have a young offensive line that has several pieces that are interchangeable. People talk about the Steelers' offensive line having problems. This line is going to have even more problems because they got backups in there, not even projected starters all across the line. And they're going to be up against a Steelers defense along with Steelers Nation that's going to be there. Renegade's going to be playing at Heinz Field. It's going to be loud. They're going to be pumped. It's the first time the Heinz Field has been able to be packed for a Steelers game in over a year. So that's what you're going to be looking forward to seeing. I think that becomes too much of a problem for them to handle. Derek Carr gets overwhelmed, and that leads to their win in this game. But I do have this game working out for the Steelers in the fashion of 27-17. I do think the Raiders get some scores, but I got a 10-point difference, 27-17, Steelers finishing this strong.
I was going 24-17, so we're right. I just feel like we're on the same page today. Like, come on.
I mean, so as it looks like it, our only difference is I picked the Eagles and you picked the Niners. I think we picked everything else the same. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. We're the same person.
We are
like twins.
We really are.
Ridiculous.
Twinning on a Friday. We love it. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that the offense just is still going to take some time to get going. We're still going to see the offensive line gel. So they're not going to put up a ton of points. We might see, another special teams play, or honestly, I'd put my money on a defensive score in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we'll see that for sure in this game. But yeah, 24-17 Steelers, and it should be a good game. It really should. And fans are going to be so excited to be back at Heinz Field. I think also you'll see the Raiders get a couple pre-snap penalties just because of how insane and pumped up Steelers Nation really is going to be back at Heinz Field in full capacity.
Yeah, shout out to any Steelers fans who'll be there. We'll both be there. We're covering the game, so that'll be exciting. Hey, hit us up on Twitter. You know, we want to see. Give me some pictures of what are you tailgating? Are you there? What jersey are you wearing? We want to see that here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Thanks so much for listening to the Locked On Steelers podcast. Jenna, thank you so much for joining us here on Fridays as always. I look forward to beating you in Run Your Pool again. But remember, you Steelers fans, you can beat both of us, and we are not in competition for the jersey. that's for y'all. So just know that you got to be just the best fan picking and run your pool. Again, check my Twitter at Carter Critiques, check the Locked On Steelers Facebook group, and click on the link there to join the official Locked On Steelers Pick'em League from runyourpool.com. Make sure you pick all the picks every week. And at the end of the season, if you have the best picks, you'll win a Steelers jersey of your choice from Run Your Pool. Jenna, thanks so much as always. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Thank you so much, as always, for having me on Friday. And thank you all listeners and viewers on YouTube for all that you guys do and tuning in. We can't tell you how much we appreciate that and how much we appreciate you guys giving us the listen. But you can find me on Twitter at Jenna Harner 11, Instagram, Jenna_Harner, and on WPXI. Chris and I do a ton of stuff together. Friday night skylights. We do Fantasy Football Insider that airs on Wednesday nights. We just got a whole lot of everything, and it's a great time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jenna, for joining. And do check us out. We'll be on Skylights Highlights doing our Friday night football talk on high school football in Western Pennsylvania only on Channel 11. I think around like 11:15 is usually when that comes on. So do check us out then. Also, thanks to all those who view this podcast, who support us, who hit likes on our videos, who subscribe to us. It really helps us out. Also, you now know if you give me a 5-star shout out on Apple, I give you a shout out. This one comes from David DeLauder, who says, amazing podcast, been a listener for the last 2 years, and this by far is my favorite Steelers podcast, especially during the season. I get excited to hear daily content of the Steelers. Chris is a great host with a variety of awesome guests like Jenna to make the show entertaining. Thank you for all you do for Steeler Nation. Thank you, David, for your 5-star review. If you want your shout out, hit us up on Apple, drop a 5-star review, leave some positive comments in there, and I'll shout you at the end of the show. Thanks for watching and listening. Be back in your ears Sunday afternoon, evening-ish, recapping the game, giving you my grades on what happened. Thanks, Jenna. See you next Friday.